Today I have an absolutely massive cologne haul. I've got 10 new cologne fragrances, and then I've got a bunch of other fragrances that I'm going to be comparing them to or making a connection or relation to. This is an absolutely phenomenal cologne haul, and this is a lesser known brand. Some of you are familiar with them. A year or two ago, before I knew anything about them, some of you are recommending them to me. And so we're going to get into 10 cologne fragrances, comparing them with originals or with other clones. And again, this is one that has got some pure gold in the mix. So we're going to get into this, but before we do, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. Give a click to the like button if you like the video. And as we go along, let me know in the comments, have you tried the original? Have you tried some other clones? What do you think of the fragrances? I'll be sure to read those. I love to hear from you about your opinions. All right. Now, the brand we're going to be talking about is GENERIC Perfumes. This is a brand that I do not make any money with. No affiliate links. They don't pay me. I don't do promos with them, anything like that. I probably could do that. You know, we've had a relationship now for a while, and I probably could say, hey, can I get some affiliate links? But I haven't done that because they do send me some free fragrances, and I don't want to ruin your opinion of my opinion on their fragrances by doing that. So I'm just kind of leaving it sort of clean, cut and dry, and they'll send me stuff sometimes, and when they do, I'll tell you my opinion on them. Now, I will say this, I have a bunch of fragrances where I have the originals of a GENERIC Perfumes fragrance. A couple of the ones I want to talk about today, I have the originals. I'll compare them to the originals. Some of them, though, I've never smelled the originals, and what I have to do in a situation like this is say, okay, I've got a bunch of the originals and GENERIC perfume clones, and they're almost always spot on, so I have to make an assumption that the ones that I have never tried are pretty well, you know, close, if not spot on, to the originals. So that's my assumption going in. Let's go ahead and get into this list. Now, first up, now I love this fragrance right here. It's one of my most complimented, one of my most talked about fragrances. JPG Le Male Les Parfums. You know, Maison Alhambra has a dupe, Fragrance World has a dupe, and both of those are good in some way, and then they have some serious faults, you know, like mostly it's just the quality. It's the quality and the artistry. There is a magnificence to the blend of this fragrance, the quality. There is not a hint of anything cheap or anything that clashes. It is just beauty, magic, artistry from start to finish. Vanilla and mint and lavender and cardamom and iris. That's the star of the show, even though it's a little part of the fragrance. Now, GENERIC Perfumes, this is just their standard. It's not A+ or A++. Their version of Le Male Les Parfums is the best clone that I have tried of Le Male Les Parfums. I will tell you, in the opening, there's a little bit of a, it's messy in the opening. Maybe it's alcohol, or what I would sometimes just call a little bit of a Middle Eastern funk for like 2 minutes. And then it settles down and it's very close, like in the 90% close territory to Le Male Les Parfums. I would say differences being maybe the original is just a tad sweeter, but they're like neck and neck. And so this one right here, their version of Le Male Les Parfums, I've been looking for a clone I could recommend because this fragrance is such a work of art that I don't want to be throwing out recommendations for fragrances that don't even get you in the ballpark. And so finally, this is a clone I could recommend. If they have an A+ or an A++, it's probably just as good as the JPG, but just the standard, the cheapest version, I will say, is going to get you very close, and it's a great alternative to Le Male Les Parfums. I'll tell you right here, this fragrance, I've been looking for a clone for a long time. I mean, you know, a year or so anyway, maybe longer than that, and the only one that I found is Dua, and theirs is always out of stock. I've never seen it in stock, and I love that. By the way, this is Parfums de Marly Habdan, and I love this fragrance. It is a frankincense and myrrh, apple caramel fragrance. There's some other fresh spiciness and some other notes in there, but that's basically what you get. Frankincense, myrrh, resinous, deep, complex, dark, mature fragrance with caramel and apple, with a little sweetness, but not as much as you would think. And I got a carded sample from Generic Perfumes of Habdan, and I thought, dang, that is really good. I need to get a bottle of the real, of this fragrance. So I got their version of Habdan. Again, this is not A+, it's not A++, it's just straight up Habdan, and it is stupid close to the Parfums de Marly. I would still put it in probably that 90% close. I'll tell you, the carded sample of Habdan, I don't know if it's just aged a little more or what the deal is, but the spices come out a little more in Habdan, in the carded sample, than they do in the Parfums de Marly, and I actually really like that. This bottle is it's closer to the Parfums de Marly than my carded sample was, although I actually liked that extra spiciness from the carded sample. And these are like 5% differences that I'm talking about here, but I'll just tell you straight up, if you want a clone of Habdan that's going to get you very close to the original so that you will absolutely know what the fragrance smells like and smell like Parfums de Marly Habdan, this is the only recommendation I have, and it is a very good one, Generic Perfumes Habdan. All right. Another one. This one kind of blew my mind because I picked up this fragrance, and I've talked about it probably enough to annoy some of you since I got it, because I just really, really like it. I'm talking about Zara Spell Caramel, and one of the reasons I picked it up is because people said that it smelled like Habdan. It doesn't. It's way, way, way sweeter than Habdan. It's like maybe 40% similar. It does not smell like Habdan. But here's the thing, I love this fragrance. The only fragrance I could say that's a little bit like it is Bond No. 9 New York Nights. However, I just got this 10 ml of Generic Perfumes Clive Christian Blonde Amber because one of you told me to pick this up from Generic Perfumes. This is their version of Blonde Amber, and let me tell you something. This is very similar to Spell Caramel. And whenever I go to Fragrantica, I never noticed this before, but if you look at Spell Caramel and go down to see what people say it smells like, Clive Christian Blonde Amber is the #1 fragrance. I don't know why I never noticed that before, but I think Spell Caramel is probably trying to be a dupe, or at least heavily inspired by Clive Christian Blonde Amber. This stuff is gorgeous. If you like sweet, spicy fragrances, it is a gourmand sort of, caramely, ambery, rich, warm, sweet fragrance with a little bit of spiciness. And again, their version of Clive Christian Blonde Amber, it is so good. I've never smelled the original. I've smelled Spell Caramel, and I can tell you this is probably a little bit more complex. It's got a little bit more texture than Spell Caramel does. But they're both actually pretty close. Clive Christian Blonde Amber. Another one that I'll mention just sort of in passing here, one of you, if I can find it, one of you just sent me this, and this is so cool. This only happened a couple times where one of you send me a fragrance. I do a lot of giveaways, but you guys a couple of times have done giveaways. One of you sent me this really sweet little travel spray of Bond No. 9 New Harlem. And, this is the one that it's a sweet coffee vanillic fragrance, and some people say it smells a little bit like a coffee and pancake breakfast. And here's the thing, Generic Perfumes dupe of this fragrance right here. I've got it on the shelf. I don't feel like digging it out right now, but now that I got this one a week or two ago from you, man, Generic Perfumes alternative to Bond No. 9 New Harlem is very, very close. I'm just throwing that in as a bonus. It wasn't a part of this haul. Here's something that has kind of surprised me. I have been, for a month or two, and I've mentioned this on videos, I've been trying to figure out what is this fragrance a dupe of. This is Al Watania's, sorry, not Al Watania. This is This one is Arabiat Prestige Attar Al Yom. And this thing right here, what I've been saying is I think that it's actually a dupe of Halfeti, Penhaligon's Halfeti. A lot of people thought it was the Blazing Mr. Sam, but it's just too different. There's too many different notes, and it just smells a little different. But I'd never smelled Halfeti, and so I got Generic Perfumes version of Halfeti. This is their A+ version of Halfeti, and lo and behold, I am more convinced than ever that Arabiat Prestige Attar Al Yom is actually supposed to be Penhaligon's Halfeti. Because again, I haven't smelled the original, but I have a lot of trust in Generic Perfumes, and the two of these side by side are just very, very similar. And they smell fantastic. They're almost indistinguishable, but they're like a sweet, leathery, I don't even know if they have vanilla, but that sort of sweet vanillic, Tonka or Kumaran vanillic kind of sweetness with leather and oud. It's gorgeous. But here's the thing. This fragrance right here, which is a dupe of the Blazing Mr. Sam, this is actually, I thought this was, let's see, Alferez. Oh, this is an Emperor fragrance. Alferez, which is one of their sub-brands. This is Alferson Desert. This is the Blazing Mr. Sam, and it's probably 75% similar. It's got a tobacco note. The sweetness is a little bit different, but it's very similar to Halfeti and the dupes of Halfeti, and it's a fantastic fragrance. And again, this fragrance right here by Georgians, this is Haute Leather. This is a clone of Halfeti Leather. And those fragrances, those four that I just showed you, all of them are within about 75% similar to each other. This one I think has a touch more oud and definitely more leather, but it's still, like if you start with a base of Halfeti, Blazing Mr. Sam dupe is, 20% in the tobacco direction. This one's 20% in the leather direction, but they're still sort of starting with the same base. They're very similar and almost redundant, to be honest with you. And then finally, here's the thing. I've been trying to pick up Oud Maliki, Chopard Oud Maliki for, I don't know, 6 months or so, but I want to get it cheap. I mean, I'm cheap, and I've been wanting to get it for like, 50, 60 bucks. Sometimes you can get it for that. I wasn't able to get it, but I did get Generic Perfumes Oud Maliki, and I know that people often compare this to Halfeti and other Penhaligon's fragrances. And so here's the thing. It is very similar to Halfeti. This is not quite as sweet, at least Generic Perfumes version. This is not A+ or A++, but Generic Perfumes version of Chopard Oud Maliki is probably, again, like in that 80% similar to to Halfeti. It's just, this is not quite as sweet, and it's maybe, I would say it's a little more earthy, and or maybe a little more oudy, so maybe it's 75% similar. But I just wanted to mention this to say, this is a fragrance family now that a year ago I was really pretty ignorant about. But now I could confidently say, although each of these have their distinctives, Halfeti, Halfeti Leather, the Blazing Mr. Sam, Oud Maliki, and the mystery fragrance, Arabiat Prestige Attar Al Yom, all of them are in a similar family with significant redundancy. You don't need all of them. However, if you do want, the nuances of that DNA, then you could get any of them, or just go to Generic Perfumes and pick up dupes of the ones that you like. So anyway, that was a pretty cool discovery that I made there. Let me tell you now about probably my favorite dupe that I got in this most recent haul from Generic Perfumes, if I can find it. And this is a fragrance that I've wanted to get the original on and off for a while now. I have a list of niche fragrances that I'm going to pick up eventually. And this one has been on there, and I didn't know that Generic Perfumes made a dupe of the Chronic. Byron the Chronic. It's got nothing to do with marijuana. It's just called the Chronic. This is a mind-blowingly wonderful, fantastic, gorgeous, beautiful, blow your head off vanilla fragrance. This is their version of the Chronic. And if you like Altair, just for instance, if you like that very sweet, gourmandy vanilla with some spiciness, this fragrance does not smell like Altair. You would never confuse the two, but it's in the same family for sure. The same kind of vanilla with different spiciness. I think there might even be a touch of fruitiness in the Chronic. I haven't looked at the notes today, but it hits you the same way. The first time you smelled Altair, if you maybe sprayed it on your hand out in a store, if you like vanilla fragrances, you were probably like, wow, like, what is this? Sign me up. I need a bottle. This fragrance, the Chronic, and the original is probably even better, but Generic Perfumes version, this is the Chronic A+, so it is kind of their mid-tier. This stuff is fantastic. It is a beautiful, gorgeous vanilla fragrance, easily 8-hour performing, which I would say, I think all the ones that I've talked about so far, I could confidently say they last 8 hours, some of them longer than that. But if you like vanilla fragrances, watch a video on the Chronic. Watch somebody talking about Byron the Chronic, somebody that you trust, and watch a first impression video and just the way that it just blows them away. That's what this one did. It was the first fragrance I tried. It was the one I was most excited about, that and Blonde Amber, thanks to one of you. And so I sprayed it on, and I just thought, oh my gosh, this stuff is gorgeous. I don't know why they only sent me a 10 ml. I wish they would have sent me a whole bottle, but wow, this stuff is amazing. If you like vanilla fragrances, check this out. It is fabulous. All right, now I'm going to talk to you. So I've been glowing about all these so far. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to tell you about one that I don't know if I like or not. I can't make up my mind, but I don't have any Boadicea the Victorious fragrances. I've known about them for quite some time. Darren, the Bowtie fragrance guy, who I really like watching his videos, he loves Boadicea, and he's done a ton of videos on them. They're like $500 a bottle or something insane like that. So I'm probably never going to buy one of the originals, to be honest. But a few of them, like Blue Sapphire, is one I've really wanted to smell for a long time. There's a few others as well. But Blue Sapphire really intrigued me, and so I got Generic Perfumes. This is A+ Blue Sapphire. And man, oh man, this stuff, I say it intrigued me because right off the atomizer, I smelled it and thought, wow, what an incredible, fruity, gorgeous, very interesting fragrance. But it was one of those that was so confusing. I was like, when would you wear this? Is it a spring fragrance? Is it summer? Is it the dead of winter? Like, it's got so much going on. Ton of sweetness, but a ton of freshness with some fruitiness, and there's an animalic note in this fragrance. Some people say it smells like cat piss. Go and look up some reviews. You'll see that word come up, that there's a note in it that smells like that. And this one, I know exactly what they're talking about. There's something in here the first time I wore it that I thought, I don't ever want to spray this on my skin again. But it's one of those things. Yeah, see, right off the test strip, off the atomizer, I love it. You're smelling the dry down, and it is gorgeous. Off the test strip, the opening, you get that animalic note, especially in the first few seconds, and it's like, wow, what is that? I don't know if it's civet, I don't know if it's castoreum, what it is, but it is funky. Like, not something that I particularly care for, but it's one of those that's got a little bit of an addictive quality that makes me want to go back to it again and again. I would not be surprised, as bizarre as this sounds, if this ends up being one of my favorite fragrances from Generic Perfumes. And I've seen other people say the same thing about Boadicea Blue Sapphire. Please let me know in the chat if you've tried the original. But yeah, Blue Sapphire from them, really good stuff, but that one note is just, it's weird, you know, but at the same time, I understand why Blue Sapphire is one of the most popular Boadicea fragrances. And so a couple others that are Boadicea dupes that I haven't really worn like I have Blue Sapphire, but I've sprayed them out on strip. I've experimented with a little. They are not as challenging or potentially off-putting as Blue Sapphire is. One of them is Valiant. The other one is Amber Sapphire. They are niche perfumery at its finest. There's a lot going on. They are, this one I just sprayed is Amber Sapphire. They are complex. There are notes that don't seem like they should go together, that somehow clash and then blend and sing a beautiful song of fragrance. Amber Sapphire has something in it that reminds me a little bit of Santal 33. There's more sweetness in it than there is in that fragrance. But, you know, yet to be worn for sure. This is just their standard, not A+ or A++, Amber Sapphire. Definitely one, to me, probably leans more like springtime, but it's sort of sandalwood, a little bit of sweetness. And I'm starting to go a little nose blind from smelling all these fragrances, but very interesting, and I'll have more to say about that one as I experiment a little more. And then the next one is, this stuff smells amazing. Yeah, I need to look at the notes of this one. Boadicea the Victorious Valiant. This stuff, right off the strip, it smells like a popsicle. It actually reminds me of like a fruity, sort of citrus, floral kind of a popsicle, but there's also a little bit of an oriental vibe, like a little bit of spice. And so what you have in the fragrance is ylang-ylang, mandarin, petitgrain, orange, grapefruit, orange blossom, orris, cherry blossom, neroli, jasmine, vanilla, amber, tonka, sandalwood, patchouli. There's a lot going on, and a lot of these notes sort of straddle the line between fresh and sweet. And so I don't know. Again, this is one of those, I don't know when would even be the ideal time to wear it. Is this more of a winter fragrance, more of a summer fragrance? Probably spring would be the sweet spot. But it's got a lot of brightness that would make you think summer would be perfect. But then it's got a lot of sweetness that would make you think fall is probably even better. So anyway, this stuff smells fantastic. It's like intoxicating level good stuff. So I've got a lot more experimenting to do with the Boadicea dupes. Finally, the last one that I want to mention, this is another one where I have something that immediately when I smelled it, I thought, oh, I know what that is. This fragrance right here from Xerjoff, Casamarati 1888, is one of these like blow your mind, opulent, luxurious fragrances. It's like rose and incense and leather and spice and sweetness. It is definitely a like three-piece suit, tuxedo, like formal event kind of fragrance. You can wear what you want when you want, or I could even see like wearing this by the campfire at night in jeans and a t-shirt. So, but it smells wealthy. It smells like a $2,000 velvet robe with cognac and a pipe. That's what it smells like. It smells amazing. And as soon as I smelled Generic Perfumes' take on Xerjoff Tony Iommi Monkey Special, this is their A++ version, I thought that is a Xerjoff. Like without question, as soon as you smell it, you know like, oh wow, that's got that Xerjoff artistry, luxury, opulence. It's got it. And so their version of Tony Iommi Monkey Special, the A++, it has some definite similarities to Casamarati 1888. And you've got rum, passion fruit. I think the passion fruit is something that's really catching me in this fragrance. Bergamot, geranium, patchouli, cinnamon, leather, rose, caramel, vanilla, tonka bean, sandalwood, labdanum, ambergris, and musk. I can't believe there's no incense in this fragrance, that there's no smoky note, because to my nose, maybe that's coming from like the labdanum, maybe even the patchouli, but there's something that reminds me a little bit of the incensiness of Casmarati 1888. But this is another one of those fragrances. You would never mistake it for a designer. If you've smelled a couple Xerjoff fragrances, you're probably immediately going to think, oh, that's a Xerjoff. Kind of like if you smell one of Kilian's darker fragrances, the moment you smell it, you think, oh, that's a Kilian fragrance. This has that in spades. And this is one of those that, man, I don't even know. There's only one more dupe that I know of Tony Iommi Monkey Special. It's Montagne's, and ever since Ash on Gensense did his video, they've been sold out of it. I was going to buy that one. So anyway, this may be the only dupe you can get of this fragrance, and it is next level. This is like a 10-hour fragrance. Like you take a shower and you will still smell this stuff on your skin. Super high-end, luxurious, complex, niche stuff right here. Tony Iommi Monkey Special. So anyway, I have no idea how long this video is. It could be a half hour for all I know. But I wanted to kind of go through. This has been so fun comparing some of these to things that I have, and just expanding my horizons. That's what's so great about a company like Generic Perfumes. Again, they don't pay me to say things like this, is you could load up with like 10 of these. I think, I don't quote me on this, but I think they're like $12 each or something for the 10 mLs. You could load up on 10 of these travel sprays of fragrances that would cost you $400 or $500 if you buy the real thing at retail. And in that one order of $100 or whatever it would be, you will dramatically expand your fragrance, you know, capacity, referent, whatever. And that's what has happened with this particular order. So thank you so much to Generic Perfumes for sending me these. For all of you guys, I have discount codes below. I've got a link and a code that you can use in order to, I think you save 25%, I believe, or you can get free shipping. So 25% off or free shipping by using the code below. Let me know your thoughts on dupes of any of these or the originals of any of these. Have you tried any of the Boadicea, Blue Sapphire, Amber Sapphire, Valiant? What do you think of the Xerjoff? Either of the two that I showed you. Look forward to dialoguing with you guys down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm Justin. This is Sillage Scents.